A comeback season is always about coming back to yourself. It is about showing up for yourself, taking care of yourself, and putting yourself in positions to continue to move forward in the best way possible. I always feel like the reason why we feel guided to go into comeback seasons and to glow up and to do this and to do that and elevate and all of these things, it is always getting us closer to ourselves. So really, a comeback season is an apology to yourself. Maybe you were just in a season where you didn't really feel the best. You felt like you weren't getting much done. You feel like you were not that productive. You felt like you weren't keeping promises to yourself that you said to yourself you were going to keep. A comeback season is like an apology. It's an apology from yourself to yourself saying, hey, like we were in this season where we felt a bit stagnant, blase, but that was just revving me up to enter this new season, my comeback season, so I can come back to myself and continue forward, onward and upward. But now is not the time to get down on ourselves about our previous chapter. It's really more of a time to reevaluate stuff that happened in our past chapter that maybe we weren't the biggest fans of. Maybe you were doing something with your productivity or your discipline that you weren't the biggest fan of. Don't shame yourself for it. Just say, hey, but now we're here, we're in this comeback season, I'm coming back to myself, and this means that I'm going to stay in my productivity, I'm going to stay in my discipline, I'm going to listen to myself more often. It's not the time to get down on yourself and get in this shame spiral. It's time to build yourself back up and look at where you are right now with your new self-awareness, with maybe the lessons learned from your previous season. Now is the time to build yourself up from the lessons that you learned in your previous season that maybe you were not the happiest about. So first things first, when it comes to this comeback season, it is about reevaluating what was not really working the best in your previous season and what can you do now to allow yourself to move in a way that flows better for you. This reevaluation is really about listening to yourself about what was and what you feel could be so you're able to improve for what will be. It's really an evaluation about what you'd like to do differently this time, what you'd like to do differently in this season, and maybe take a look at where your mindset is right now and what needs to be refreshed, what needs to be focused in on, because there's so many things to focus in on in this life, right? But when you're able to listen to yourself, you're able to be guided towards what you feel needs the most attention at this moment in your life. Maybe in your previous season, you were getting mad at yourself for every little mistake you made or every little thing that didn't go perfectly as planned, and it just got you into this doubt, shame spiral. Okay, so that's something to leave behind in this comeback season. It's time to correct yourself every time you see yourself putting yourself down into something that's more beneficial for you and your mindset and your life in general. And it's gonna feel maybe uncomfy at first. It's not gonna feel maybe absolutely perfectly natural, but that's a part of the comeback season, coming back to yourself, coming back to that higher self, right? It's pushing past those comfort zones and going into something new that may not feel natural, but eventually it will feel natural. And you know deep down it is what's best for you, even if it is a challenge. So entering this comeback season, really zone in on what you think of yourself and how you feel about yourself. Don't think about what Tommy, Sue, all these other people are thinking about you when it comes to this comeback season. It's about you. It's about coming back to you and how you feel within you, right? And how you connect with your higher power if you believe in a higher power. This is about you, so leave other people out of the equation. Think about you in this comeback season. Think about you and how you feel about you and what you'd like to produce for you and what direction you'd like to head with you. Because honestly, when you focus in on yourself and you make this comeback season about you and your growth, this is just going to help everyone who's actually in your life, because when you feel good about you, you treat people better. You have more clarity about the people in your life and how you want to treat them and how you want to show up for them. So honestly, comeback seasons, they help everyone. They help everyone, not just you. But when you focus in on you, it's what makes it the best it can be. It's inevitable that people are going to notice. When you glow from the inside, it always glows on the outside. So first things first, reevaluate, listen to yourself, and take note of what you'd like to do differently going into this comeback season. So continuing on in this conversation, I do feel that time and solitude is necessary in a comeback season. It is necessary because it really is zoned in and focused in on self-care. And in order to truly hear yourself and in order to truly listen to yourself, you need to spend time in solitude, because then your opinions won't be swayed by this person or that person, or this person suggests that, this person suggests that. For sure, you can take inspiration, you can take advice from people, but it has to align with you. It can't not align with you and you just take it because you think everyone else is right and maybe you aren't right. This is a part of building self-trust, and honestly a huge part of coming back to yourself. Learning how to trust yourself. You can take inspiration from other people, 100% I'm with it, but you also need to know that it's something that aligns with you as well. So time in solitude is great for reflection. It's great for reflecting on, is this what you really want? How do you really feel within? What do you feel you really need right now? And that comes from time in solitude, because you're able to see things in a different light. And I know in my title I say go ghost. When I say go ghost, I do not mean to ignore people and to give people the silent treatment. Definitely not. That's never something I'm going to be suggesting. But when I say to go ghost, I mean to create more than you consume. So that's the thing about spending time in solitude. When you are able to be with you kind of like realize, oh, I feel more drawn towards this. Oh, I feel more pulled towards that. And it's only coming from you, not from other people's opinions. So then you find yourself creating. You're like, oh, I want to do this. That's a part of the creation process. It's getting you closer to your gift of creativity that everyone has, I believe. So when you go ghost and you're not consuming as much from every single person, you're able to really go within and begin to find that creative process within. Artistry is something that comes from within. It's like a calling, right? And in order to listen to that calling, sometimes it's best to not consume all of these different things and really just think, what do I feel right now? Like, what do I feel called towards regardless of what I'm seeing right now? Like, just when you sit here and you're with yourself and you're not on your phone, what do you feel called to do? Do you feel called to write? Do you feel called to go out in nature? Do you feel called to sign up for this program? It's like sometimes the creation process can lead to you consuming, but it is consumption by choice. So it's not like you're just consuming aimlessly, but you feel called to consume something specific. And I feel like that's a huge part of the creation process. Because I know for me, when I'm in my creator mode and I'm in my artist mode, I definitely feel called to read certain books or to watch certain videos. But that comes from spending time in solitude to then realize what I really do want to watch and what I really do want to consume. So when you consume less, aimlessly, we're going to say, because sometimes we can just watch things just because they're there and not because we actually really want to and crave it. When we consume less aimlessly, then we create more and we get to know ourselves that much more, and it just makes the process beautiful, right? So I think that's a huge part of this comeback season. Coming back to yourself, spending time in solitude, creating more than you consume aimlessly. And when this happens, you automatically begin to build your world foundation, build your vision. This just comes naturally when you spend time in solitude, really sitting with your own presence and with the higher power, if you believe in one, and just kind of learning where you feel pulled to go towards. I feel like that's how I even came into doing YouTube, into reading as much as I do, into just self-development and philosophy and all of these things I'm so passionate about. These are things I did not know. I was not aware that I was actually into these things until I spent time in solitude. It was not until I went into college and I realized, like, when I had nothing really else to do, I felt called to speak, to use my words as a form of art. And it just came naturally, and I started to discover that more, and it just kept spiraling into different things. But it only came from spending time in solitude. Like the first year in, it was not my first year in college. It was when I transferred to Clark Atlanta University, HBCU Pride, in my junior year of college. I was a transfer student, so it felt like my first year, but it really wasn't. And yeah, I would sit in my dorm, and like that was my first time away from home, not being around family all the time. So, and I wasn't like super close with anyone at that point yet. So I would literally just be in my dorm, and I just felt called to do that. But it was from the time in solitude that I felt called to go that direction. And had I not had that time in solitude, I don't know where I would be at right now. No clue. So when I say to go ghost and build, I mean to create more than you consume aimlessly. And from that creation process, begin to build your world foundation based off of what you feel called to do. And if you feel like, well, I don't really feel called towards anything, I don't really want to do anything, like I just don't know what anything is, it's okay not to know. And this is something that really comforts me. In order to be found, you first have to be lost. Like when someone's like, oh, I found this, I found that, right? But the reason why you found it is because you were lost in the first place. So it's literally a part of the journey to feel lost and to not know. Like to not know is okay. It's okay to be in a spot where you don't know, because later on you will know. You're first lost, then you're found. And ultimately it does come together. So being able to enter your comeback season, to build and to go ghost, a lot of this needs to be paired with having no FOMO, no fear of missing out, because there's always going to be a million things going on in the outside world, and that's amazing. I definitely want you to be involved, right? But there's also some moments where you deserve to be involved with your own inner world and not always the outer world. You deserve to be involved with your inner world. I feel like that is so important. Like, yes, be involved with the outer world. I go out, I go to events, I hang out with friends, for sure. But being involved with your inner world is a huge part of the comeback season. It's a huge part of coming back to yourself. So no FOMO, no fear of missing out, because you're truly not missing out on anything. You will be called to the specific areas that you need to be in. You will. If you feel super called to go to this thing, go to that thing. But then if you don't really feel that called to do it and you feel like you just want to because you feel like you'll miss out on something, maybe do something you don't usually do and stay home and spend time with yourself, or go out with just yourself. This whole conversation reminds me of something I was thinking about the other day. Most of the time, people tend to flourish after high school, right? And when I say flourish, I just mean to truly find who they are at the core. Some people find that in high school. Hey, cool. Everyone has their different path, right? But I think that a lot of us find our true selves outside of high school, and a lot of that is because we're not surrounded by people all the time. When you're in high school, you are around the same people for 4 years straight if you haven't like traveled back and forth and all of that. And you're with these people like 8 to 12 hours out of the day, depending if you do sports after, or you go to like a hangout, or you go to a party on the weekends. It's like you're with these people all the time. And a lot of what you think and feel is going to be based off of what other people are thinking and feeling, because we're around these people all the time. So after we exit high school and we get to make our own choices and we get to choose which spaces we enter and where we want to be, that's when we truly begin to discover more about ourselves. And it's because we're not always around the same people in the same environments, you know, seeking validation from certain parts of society and what's in and what's not based off of the general consensus of where we are most of the time. So I think that's just a whole other conversation that ties in with entering your comeback season. It's coming back to yourself. And I think that's why a lot of people enter their comeback seasons maybe after high school, or maybe after they get out of a relationship, or after a friendship breakup. It's because you're returning back to a part of yourself that you weren't able to discover while you were in those environments, right? And it's like no shade to the environments we were in. They made us who we are, and we're not going to shame ourselves for it or shame other people for whatever they've got going on. Everyone's on their own journey. But it's like, now you get to come back to yourself and discover who you are in this new chapter, in this new season. So, enter your comeback season. Go ghost and build. Let's see what comes from it. You've got this. I'm super excited for your comeback season. Come back to yourself all the time. And honestly, to enter your comeback season, you had to be in a season beforehand where things maybe felt all over the place, but it's okay, because I'm sure there were tons of lessons that you're going to reflect back on in your reevaluation stage and be like, yeah, but that had to happen. But now I'm in my comeback season. It's like, we're going to keep going forward. Even better. Keep going. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Remember that you are completely capable of becoming the authentic, best version of yourself, and that everything is always working out for you, no matter what it seems like at any given point in time. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!